Today we will talk about major topics of the food chain. We will first learn about what a food chain is and how energy is transferred between trophic levels. We will then talk about different trophic levels and finally end with biological magnification. First, let's start with a simple definition of the food chain. A food chain is the pathway along which energy transferred from one trophic level or feeding level to another. This pyramid shows the four basic levels present in a food chain. At the lowest level, we have the producers. Above them are the herbivores. Above them, we have two levels of carnivores, which we will discuss in more details afterwards. So let's first bring up this question. Why are there only four trophic levels in a food chain? This is because only about 10% of the energy stored in any trophic level is converted to organic matter after each jump in trophic level. These organic matters are always stored in the form of food. First, we have the producers. They consist of photosynthetic organisms which produces energy by photosynthesis. They take up the largest biomass among all levels. However, one must note that they do not necessarily have the largest population. They are the second level in the food chain. They feed on producers for energy. Remember that 90% of the energy that producers had is lost to metabolic activity and heat lost to entropy. Herbivores make up the second largest biomass in the food chain. These fish are carnivores, meaning they fish on other animals for energy. In this trophic level, they feed on herbivores for food. The energy that this level share is again 90% lesser than the previous level. Secondary consumers are also carnivores in which they feed on other animals for food. In this trophic level, they feed on primary consumers or herbivores for food. Sometimes there exists a third consumer level called the tertiary level. This level only exists if there is enough energy to provide 5 trophic levels. Biological magnification is the accumulation of toxic pollutants. As lower trophic level intake pollutants, they give off these pollutants to higher trophic levels. As these toxics spread to higher trophic levels, they will become more concentrated. This is because the higher the trophic level, the lower the biomass is. In other words, the same amount of pollutants is shared among a smaller population. This bald eagle is an excellent example of biological magnification. These eagles faced extinction around 1950s because farmers sprayed pesticide on plants which herbivores fed on. These pesticides soon spread to the small population of the bald eagles, resulting in a population decrease due to biological magnification. In this video, we covered the 4 levels of a food chain and why they are limited to 5 levels. We also talked about how organic matter passed between trophic levels, and we covered briefly each of the 5 trophic levels. We also introduced biological magnification and how it almost caused bald eagle's extinction. Decomposers are usually not included in the food chain diagram but are essential to recycling nutrients like carbon and phosphate for organisms to use. Without them, there could be no food chain and no life. This is an example of decomposers. Because an animal can occupy more than one trophic level, the relationships are sometimes represented by a food web. An example would be human, who can be primary consumers, herbivores, and tertiary consumers. This is an example of a food web. Notice that one organism can be connected to several other organisms.